Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Johnson from the United States. In today's program, we're going to talk about something that just happened, which started with the H&M company, the Swedish fashion retailer that is boycotted by the Chinese government and purportedly by the Chinese people as well. I think anybody who pays a little bit attention to the news have heard about what has been brewing for the past couple of days. So H&M company last year made a statement on its website stating that it was not going to buy any cotton products that were suspected to be produced from the Xinjiang province because of the reported human rights violation concerns. For whatever reason, 3 days ago, the Chinese government suddenly discovered this statement and started to attack the company. So the Chinese Communist Party's Youth League made an announcement criticizing H&M for interfering with Chinese affairs, and major Chinese website retailers started to boycott H&M products as well. Answering the call, a lot of Chinese people also voiced their dissatisfaction about H&M because this program is designed to help English speakers to better understand China and also the Communist Party. I will try to explain how the boycott thing actually works. I grew up in China, so for the longest time, until I left China eventually, I always remember in China, all government places, including the judiciary system, hospitals, universities, schools, and many other places, of course, including the military, every Wednesday afternoon is dedicated for political study. I don't think many people who live outside China actually understand or can comprehend this. But the whole Wednesday afternoon is pretty much dedicated for political study. The political study or political education is a very organized system which is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. So anytime the government wants to do something, this political study usually becomes one of the best places to launch a movement. For example, for the H&M event, it is by no means a voluntary boycott started by the Chinese people. Actually, in China, for any large movements, there is nothing started by the Chinese people, but everything started by the Chinese government. So the screen plot for the H&M event probably looks like this. The Chinese government, which is Beijing, the very central government, whoever was in charge, decided that they need to find a target for whatever reason, and they decided that they need to attack H&M because the company accused the Chinese government for human rights violations in Xinjiang, and it has international repercussions. Once the Chinese government or the Chinese Communist Party, which is the same thing, decided that this is what they were going to do, they would start a mobilization. The mobilization, including, of course, media, which is fully controlled by the Chinese government, and through some other channels. For example, in China, the most important newspaper is People's Daily. And the biggest, also the most important TV company is China Central Television, CCTV. The Chinese Communist Party's Youth League, which oddly reminds me of Hitler Youth, also has its own structure, its own media, its own organization, the whole system. I know the education system pretty well in China, how the Chinese Communist Party controls the whole system because I was a student from K-12 all the way to university. So for example, at any given university, they have different classes, and each class has its own structure, like a student body. but the student body has a lot more power compared to a university in the United States or in Canada. So each class has a person in charge, more like a military commander in terms of chain of command, and there are several minor officials in the same class who all report to the person in charge. Remember, all these people, they're all students. So all these officials report to the school administrators. And when we're talking about school administrators, we're not talking about just one. When I was at the school, we had maybe around 100 classes, so it was a pretty sizable school. And for each about 8 classes, we would have one school administrator, which was a full-time government employee, and most of them are Communist Party members. So you can see that for a country who has such a system, a movement can easily propagate it from its very top to its very bottom at a lightning speed. So very easily the whole country is mobilized. So it is extremely easy for the Chinese government or for the whole country to boycott or to take an action on any target. So now we have to think about the question, does it actually reflect the will of the Chinese people? For me, I definitely do not think so, because for the majority of the people who actively or passively participated in whatever movements, they had no idea this is what they wanted to do the day before. Everything is pretty much manipulated. It is simply what the Chinese Communist Party wanted to do. It also happened multiple times in the history of People's Republic of China that 1 week before, person A was the hero of the people, and then a week later, the person became the enemy of the people. For the H&M event, my conclusion, it is simply a manipulation by the Chinese Communist Party.